Welcome to the final Southern California Prep Insider Football Podcast of the regular season shotgun. Final week. How you feeling?
I'm kind of scared. It's the final week. That means playoffs are around the corner.
Yeah, playoffs around the corner. Halloween is next week. Is that why you're wearing your Browns hat? Is that supposed to be scary?
Hey, this is a St. Louis Browns hat, so this is not the Cleveland Browns. This is old school, baseball. We're going St. Louis Browns rather than the Cleveland Browns.
All right, so I'm educated. It looks you got me fooled. We got our normal stuff today. We've got our top tens. We've got some field reporters out. One is they're all over the place. We'll get to that later. We've got our game picks. We got our players of the week. All that good stuff. Chuck, and let's start with our top tens. Who's on yours?
Let's start with the team that falls out of the top 10, Mission Viejo. They were in their top 5 for the longest time, but they had to forfeit 4 games due to an ineligible player. They lose this past week, their first game on the field. They lose to San Clemente 21-20. They went for 2 late in the game, did not get it, and that ends a 9-year run of dominance in the South Coast League. They hadn't lost a game. Their first loss to San Clemente since 1999. I mean, Tommy, you were actually born, but just barely, right?
10 years, yeah.
Yeah, so none of these players on this team, though, had been born. San Clemente had been 0-15-1 since then. So they, Mission Viejo knocks out Brendan Costello, the Oklahoma State quarterback commit, and you expect, okay, with a backup quarterback, they're not going to be able to get it done. But their backup does come in. I'm not going to mention him yet because I know Tommy's on your top performers. What an incredible job by San Clemente to get this job, get the win here. Mission Viejo was playing without Jamari Farrell, the running back. Something they had to deal with last year. When he got injured, they used Achille Arnold in that role last year. Achille Arnold actually stayed at receiver for the most part. He had 5 catches for 84 yards, had the touchdown with 3:05 to go, but after an offsides penalty, moved the extra point to the 1-yard line. Mission Viejo rolls the dice and goes for it, but they don't get it. But give credit to San Clemente for getting that win. They've been playing really well, but Mission Viejo falls out of our top 10. So moving into the top 10.
Wait, really quickly, let me pause you there. Well, do you like to go for 2 move or no?
Yeah, I do. Go for it. I like it for the most part, but Mission Viejo has more talent than San Clemente, so usually in that case you played for the overtime. And also with 3:05 left, that's still a little bit of time, so maybe you go for 2 and you feel like you can still get the ball back with your defense. So I'm okay with it. But it turns out not working for Mission Viejo. They end up losing that one. They fall out of the top 10. Moving into the top 10, Bishop Amat, 8-1 now. They beat Loyola 41-7. They've been beating up on teams. Their biggest win of the year in this one, 34 points. Blake Archuleta was really good again. Kenny Collins, their senior running back. They've got 2 seniors that are kind of carrying the load on the offense and getting it done in other areas as well. We'll talk about them a little bit later in our game picks. Number 9, I got Calabasas. They lost to Oaks Christian 21-13, but I just couldn't move them out of the top 10. They played really well in that game. Jermaine Burton had 2 touchdown catches. Jaden Casey was okay. They had an opportunity late. They scored late in the game. They get the ball back on a fumble. They throw it deep on the final play, and it gets picked off. Jaden Casey just had to get rid of it because pass rush was in his face. Kind of a Hail Mary toss. Didn't make it. Calabasas falls in that one, but they stay at number 9 this week. Upland jumps them, though, from number 10 to number 8. They beat Chino Hills 42-32. Still struggling with the penalties. They had 19 penalties in this game, but they made up for it on offense. Their offense in the first half, Tommy, check this out. Chino Hills ran 44 plays. Jeez. And was losing by 9 points because Upland only had 8 offensive plays. They scored 4 touchdowns on those 8 plays. They had a 3 and out, and then they had 5 other plays, and they got the job done, scoring 4 touchdowns on 5 plays. So their offense was really explosive in the first half. Cameron Davis, 17 carries, 170 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had another touchdown through the air as well. Evan Rowe threw 2 touchdowns. They had a couple starters out, and Justin Flo had 13 tackles and a sack in the first half. They held him out in the second half. Get ready for next week. They got a big game against Rancho Cucamonga, always a rivalry there in the Inland Empire. They stay at number 8. Number 7, Cajon. They beat Yucaipa 56-34. Jaden Daniels is just ridiculous. 31-38, 392 yards passing, 6 touchdowns through the air. Well, he also ran the ball 9 times for 200 yards and a touchdown. So almost 600 total yards of offense from Jaden Daniels. His favorite targets were Darren Jones, 10 catches, 131 yards and a touchdown, and Devin Murray, 8 catches, 121 yards, and 3 TDs. Cajon keeps winning out there in the Inland Empire. They stay at number 7 this week. Number 6, Jay Serra. They lost. And I wanted to move them down, but I just felt I couldn't. There wasn't, it was losing to Modern Day. They are 7-2. Their losses are to Modern Day and Bosco, so I decided to leave them there. They did not play very well, though. They're going to have to play much better going into the playoffs if they want to make some noise in the playoffs there. They play Santa Margarita this week to end the season. They just could not get the running game going at all. Chris Street, former Mater Dei student, he wanted to show out against his former team. Did not happen. 11 carries, 17 yards. So that's not going to get the job done. Their offense just could do nothing against Mater Dei. So give credit to Mater Dei there. But J. Sarah stays number 6 because of the games that they have won earlier this season as well. Number 5, I got Corona Del Mar. They beat Newport Harbor 62-14. Just beating up on people there. Ethan Garber 16-28, 292 yards, and a school record 7 touchdowns, breaking his brother's records. He started the game 1 of 5 and bounced back and played really well in that one. The rivalry game, he got a little nervous early, got some jitters. He got it out of his way, and then came back and threw 2 touchdown passes to John Humphreys, 2 touchdowns to Mark Redmond, 7 overall in that one. Big game for Corona Del Mar. They move on. They're going to play Huntington Beach this week and have an opportunity to prepare themselves going into the playoffs now. Number 4, Oaks Christian. They beat Calabasas 21-13. I thought about moving them up, but it's hard with the teams above them. Couldn't do it. But they played pretty well. Zach Charbonnet came back and was a beast. This dude is huge. I mean, this is the first time seeing him in person this year. I think he's put on, 20, 25, 30 pounds from last year. He was just, a beast out there. They couldn't tackle him. 21 carries, 149 yards, 3 touchdowns. It took like 3 guys to tackle him almost every time. And he had a game-sealing INT in the final minute. So he did it pretty much all for Oaks Christian. They win that game there. Number 3, Mater Dei. They beat up on J. Sarah, like we talked about. Bryce Young on the offensive side, 311 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, though, for him. Josiah Zamora and Cameron Gardner, some younger receivers stepping up. Brew McCord had 4 catches, 66 yards, and a 3-yard touchdown. Had another touchdown that was called incomplete, which, if you saw the highlight, was very confusing that it was called incomplete. Sean Dollars had over 100 yards total. They probably had more touches in this game than he has in some others. He had a 16-yard touchdown run. But really big blow for Mater Dei and really disappointing. Losing left tackle Miles Moreau for, it seems like, the season, I think it is. He has an ankle injury. I think it's a broken leg at the ankle bone. But when you can get the running clock going in the fourth quarter against a team that's ranked in the top 10 like J. Sarah, that tells you how dominant Mater Dei was in this one. Darian Green Warren had 2 interceptions. Elias Ricks had another one. They dominated this game. The defense was everything for Mater Dei. Played really well to bounce back from that Bosco loss. But couldn't move them up either because Centennial won 80-0. 80 points, Tommy. That's hard to do.
That's a lot.
I mean, that's 11 touchdowns and a field goal.
Why don't they end it? I guess they want the other kids to play, but back in the day, 50 points second half game just ended. They just
really. I did not know that.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's just San Diego thing. Back in my day, if it was 50-point differential, second half, game was over.
Game over. I would like that as a reporter because you're like, all right, I can go home early.
We get it. Yeah, it's one of those things. We get it. It's fine. You want to run the clock and let them have each 2 possessions each, fine. But I mean, I think at that point, we get it.
We have the running clock rules in the southern section. 35 points in this. I think it's the second half, maybe just fourth quarter. But Centennial definitely is used to the running clock. This game, and they did it with such few touches. Alan McKaylee, their quarterback, 4 pass attempts, 3 touchdowns. Octavio Cortez, 4 carries on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Thomas Kinslow had 2 touchdowns. Brendan Alvarez, 76-yard touchdown catch. Samaji Bonner, an interception and a touchdown. If you touch the ball, basically you're going in the end zone. There was no reason to touch the ball as a Centennial player unless you planned on being in the end zone. It's like somebody catches a 70-yard pass, but they get tackled. You're like, what are you doing? We go into the end zone. You touch the ball, you go in the end zone. Yeah. And then number 1, of course, is St. John Bosco. They beat Santa Margarita 49-14. They scored 35 first-half points, kind of backed off like they have been doing all season. They kind of get to that 42, 49-point mark and just like, all right, starters, you're done. DJ Ualele had 3 touchdown passes, 2 on the ground. They had 5 touchdowns on the ground overall. They locked up the Trinity League title and held Santa Margarita to 107 yards passing. Their defense getting it done. Did it against Mater Dei last week. They do it against Santa Margarita this week. They'll play against Servite this week. They'll dominate them as well. They'll go into the playoffs undefeated, perfect 10-0 to start their run in that Division I playoffs.
All right, there's your top 10. Ours kind of similar. We got Cajon at number 10, Upland number 9, CDM Corona Del Mar number 8, Bishop Amat, a team that I don't know where they were on your radar to start the season. They were not on mine, but now they're at number 7. They've earned it all the way up there and beating Mater Dei. Heck of a win there. Number 6, we have Calabasas. 5 is J. Sarah. 4, Oaks Christian. 3, Centennial. 2, Mater Dei. And number 1 is St. John Bosco, number 1 team in the country as far as I'm concerned. We've seen a lot of national powerhouses come in here. We got to see Centennial play, the best team in Arizona. We saw IMG come here, and from all the teams that I've seen, I don't think anyone can even touch Bosco with a 10-foot pole.
Well, you got to think that Modern Day is going to get another shot, and you got to think the Centennial will probably get a shot, or one of those teams will at least get a shot. So that's who Bosco will likely play in the final, one of those two teams, assuming that those two teams are the 2 and 3 seeds in some shape or fashion for that Division I playoffs. The craziest thing about Division I playoffs is that there's 18 teams, 16 teams are going to the playoffs. So how bad do you feel if you're one of those two teams that doesn't make it?
Yeah, I think maybe petition to go play in the Division II playoffs at that point. I don't really know what you do there.
Division I has all powerhouses. You got teams like Servite and Santa Margarita are the teams that are kind of battling at the bottom end. But those teams are really good, and they beat up on other teams in other divisions. But they'll have a chance or they're hoping to have a chance in the playoffs to make some noise. Maybe Servite goes to play a team like Corona Centennial or another matchup against Bosco. But if you can make some noise in the playoffs, then everything is soothed over the entire season. If you went 5-4 or whatever it may be during the regular season.
Yep, and we'll see what happens in playoff time. We're 1 week away from that, so that will be exciting. Shotgun. Our second to last regular season players of the week, game balls. What do you have?
So that means this is the second to last long list that I'm going to have because I feel like we'll trim it in the playoffs. There'll be a little bit, there'll be fewer games, there'll be fewer blowouts to give some of these big stat performances. But got to give these guys credit when you get these big. When you're like Mike Camarillo from Garden Grove, and you run 14 times for 225 yards and 4 touchdowns, but then you also do it on the defensive side with 11 tackles and 2 interceptions, including a pick 6. Come on, I got to give this guy credit, even though it was a blowout win. Come on, Mike Carrillo has been, a force for Garden Grove. He's my number 1 top performer this week. I'm gonna go with Kyle Schaefer from Tesoro, 81-yard pick 6 interception in their 28-13 upset of Capistrano Valley. I think we both picked Capistrano Valley. Tesoro getting it done though. Defense led the way for him in that one. Schaefer's had a pick 6. There was also a fumble recovery and another interception, I think, as well. So give a credit to the Tesoro defense. Logan Loya, Orange Lutheran, one of our favorite players, 12 catches, 258 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including a 92-yard touchdown. They won 28-20 over Servite. Ryan Helinski, 25-36 for 371 yards and 2 touchdowns. But give a little credit to the Servite freshman quarterback who came in off the bench and scored 17 points, and it led them to 17 points in the fourth quarter to make it an even close game. But Orange Lutheran gets the win there. They've got a big opportunity against Modern Day this week. We'll see if they can get an upset victory and kind of make some noise and make some rancor in the Trinity League standings there. Ryan Altman from San Clemente, 15 tackles. He stopped the 2-point conversion that gave them the win over Mission Viejo. Big ups to him for not only getting 15 tackles, which is huge, but getting the most important one of the game there. Andrew Johnson from Laguna Beach, 3 touchdown passes. He sets the single-season school record. Congratulations there. Dallas Burke from Los Alamitos. Tommy, he had a pick 6 to start the game. Gave him a 7-0 lead, but that wasn't enough. He had to get a second pick 6 to give him a 14-0 lead. So offense doesn't even have to do anything. Dallas is taking care of things. He gets 2 pick 6s in their win over Huntington Beach. Congratulations to Los Alamitos. They are still tied for number 1 with Huntington Beach with Corona Del Mar after both teams could not figure out how to play the rest of their rain-shortened game, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The Foothill defense as well, they stuffed Brea Olinda 4 times after a first and goal from the 1-yard line to earn a 19-13 win. That's what I talk about coming up clutch right there. You let them get to the 1-yard line, but you guys are not getting in. Bend but don't break. Paul Piferi from Villa Park, 17-20, 281 yards, 5 touchdowns, and a 63-0 win. He took care of things. Dylan Bonilla was his favorite target, 5 catches, 130 yards, 3 touchdowns. We've talked about him before, but they continue to put up big numbers there. I think Villa Park is still undefeated, or at least at the top of their league. They've been playing really well. Edward Williams from Catella, 4 rushing touchdowns. Andrew Pisani had 19 carries, 136 yards, and 4 catches, 79 yards as Catella won that game. Drew Perkins from Laura, 10 catches, 194 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's getting it done through the air. Tyler Mosley through the air and on the ground, 346 yards from scrimmage, 6 touchdowns. 6 catches, 154 yards, 10 carries, 192 yards. They won 70-56. Tommy, that sounds like your type of game. You score a lot of points.
Yes.
Putting points on the board.
Love the points.
Ashton Othamont added 3 touchdowns to that as well. And then that was a win over Elsinore. Elsinore's Jiminy Batamana had 188 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. He also had 89-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. It was not enough, unfortunately. Score 56 points, you lose, you feel pretty bad.
Yeah, not great.
Elijah Kelsey from Moreno Valley, 73-yard pick 6 to help lock up a win and at least a share of the Mountain Valley League title over there. Brandon Wells from Redlands East Valley also had a 60-yard interception touchdown and a blowout win over their former coach and Citrus Valley. That's always fun when you get to beat your former coach. Travis Davis, Artesia, 226 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, a receiving touchdown as well. He does it all for Artesia. Easton Gibbs, Temecula Valley, 260 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, 123 yards passing and a touchdown. Orlando Ornelas from Chaparral. I know Jessica was at this game. She was really impressed by him. 100 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, 164 yards passing and a touchdown. And your quarterback is your guy returning kickoffs, 79-yard kickoff return for a touchdown as well. Got to love that always. Love when the quarterbacks get involved in that regard. Gary Ganson from Aquinas. Aquinas' defense has been lights out all season long. He had as many interceptions as the Arrowhead Christian offense had receptions as their defense dominated once again. He had 2 interceptions. They only gave up 2 catches in the entire game. He also had 2 touchdowns on offense, including a 59-yard run. That's what you talk about an all-around performance there. Tommy, who you got?
I've got a few for you. I will start with Marion Haslam from Norte Vista, 152 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Ika Tuatala from Heritage. We're going to see him on Friday, or I'm going to see him on Friday at least. 127 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Xavier Ugorgi, Rancho Verde, had himself a big night as well. 123 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. They are still undefeated. So that'll be, see if we can finish, if they can finish that off against Heritage. So I'll be up again. Look at it 3 times. I will be there. Moving on, we've got St. Paul. They had 2 pick 6s in there and a kickoff return for a touchdown. So I like to see the unique touchdowns. That makes any sense. The non-offensive touchdowns. Good job there by St. Paul and then win over St. Anthony's. Raymond Rodriguez from Chafee. Look at this stat line. 11 carries, 224 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Efficiency. Right there.
Love it. Love the efficiency.
Mark Perry from Rancho Cucamonga, 185 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. And finally, Drayton Joseph, we talked about, you hinted towards it. Drayton Joseph from San Clemente comes into the game. Obviously, has some big shoes to fill with Casello going out, the Oklahoma State commit. And he comes into the game and beats Mission Viejo, as you said, for the first time. Mission Viejo has lost a game in 9 years inside of their division. So that is a heck of a job there by Drayton Joseph from San Clemente. Shocking. Finish it off.
Yeah, and you talk about Drayton Joseph, and, I mean, he's got offers from Alabama. He's got offers from Texas. He's committed to San Diego. And think about why, if he's got offers from Alabama and Texas, why is he going to San Diego? He's actually committed as a golfer. So you had a golfer come in, backup quarterback. He comes in and gets the job done. Love seeing, the guy that can come in and step into the moment. As a golfer, you got to be, super laser focused on your putts and everything. That's what he was in this game. He came in and got the job done. He moved the chains for them, and they were able to pick up that win. Big win for San Clemente there. They've been playing, like I said, really well. I got a couple more guys on my list, Tommy. I got Hank Bachmeyer, another quarterback we talked about multiple times. Murrieta Valley, he had 4 touchdown passes. He ties the CIF Southern Section career touchdown mark at 152 touchdowns.
Unreal.
That is ridiculous. Hank Bachmeyer ties JT Daniels' CIF Southern Section career mark there. It was a wild 48-46 win. It features 6 touchdowns in the 4th quarter, but he ties the record there. He'll probably break it this week. So congratulations to Hank Bachmeyer. Just a pre-congratulations. How about Citrus Hill? They kept their 8-year Mountain Pass League unbeaten streak together after stopping 6 plays inside the 10-yard line in the final seconds to win 21-13 over previously unbeaten San Jacinto. Cesar Gonzalez from Norco, the wide receiver, passed, ran, and caught a touchdown in their 51-7 win. And Jay Knott also helped out 9 carries, 220 yards, and a touchdown. That's efficiency as well there. IQ Dingwu from Workman, 405 yards passing, 5 touchdowns. Christian Grubb from Sherman Oaks, Notre Dame, 5 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown. Jalen Carter, I think is how you say his name. Not Julian, but Jalen from Westchester, 16 of 18. 340 yards, 6 touchdown passing. He also ran for 2 touchdowns, really efficient and just dominant performance there for Westchester. Ryan Stevens from Chaminade, 15-20, 306 yards, 4 touchdowns, a 45-28 win over Sarah. Nehemiah Thompson for San Fernando, 6 carries, 147 yards, and a touchdown. Also on the defensive side, 13 tackles, 5 of those for loss. Long Beach Poly, CJ Montez only threw the ball 13 times, 9 of 13, 256 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Chris Venegas from Warren, 18-23, over 300 total yards with 5 passing touchdowns. And last but not least, Strong Mataele, whose name actually starts with a T. He was too strong for the opponent in this one. He ran for 303 yards and 5 touchdowns in their win. Tommy, that's all the guys I got for now. What do we got from our reporters?
Yeah. From there, we'll head on over to Santiago with Jessica Lucero.
Yeah, thank you, Tommy. Here I am at Santiago High School, finally in Corona, California. I spoke with the head coach here, Scott Morrison, who was actually the Rams head coach of the week this past week, so very exciting, and congrats to him. He has really helped change this culture here, helped develop it into sort of more of a winning culture here at Santiago. Of course, they are in the Big 8, so they've got a lot of tough competitors in the Big 8 alone, and then from there on, in their first couple of weeks, they had to go up against Rancho Verde. They had to go up against Verde Valley and Eastlake, these very tough competitors. So they didn't have an easy schedule this year. Same with last year, actually. They've been having these very tough competitors that they have to go off and face. But this team went out and they were down 17-7 against Roosevelt on Friday night when the game was postponed to Saturday night. So Saturday they went out there and they ended up walking away with the win 21-20. They did exactly what they had to do to walk away with the win, and now here they are. They clinched their ticket to playoffs. And Coach Mo and I talked a little bit about what you can expect from Santiago this year in playoffs. Coach, first off, congrats. You were recently named the Rams head coach of the week after the game last week. Now, what was that accomplishment really like when you found out that you received that award?
Well, I mean, we're certainly honored to be recognized by the Rams, and the publicity for our kids is great. For me, it's really about, our kids work so hard. We demand so much of them. For them to have the opportunity to get that recognition is really great.
Now, I was watching you guys in practice, and it seemed like a very fun practice with the music blasting. The guys were dancing, having a lot of fun, but obviously doing the work that they have to do in order to be prepared for this upcoming week. But what sort of culture have you worked on developing here at Santiago since coming in a couple years ago?
Our culture is really about accountability, and our guys have really grabbed hold of that. So we have accountability measures, and they hold themselves to a really high standard. I wouldn't have played music every day at practice 3, 4, 5 years ago, but quite frankly, this is a group of guys that can handle it, and they practice as hard as anybody I've ever had. They compete against each other as hard as anybody I've ever had. They're not afraid to get after each other when it's the right time to get after each other. But they also like to have a good time, and I don't want to take that away from them. Yep. So.
Now, who are just a couple of players that have stood out to you this year that heading into the season you might not have expected to really stand out?
Well, we've had some injury situations where guys have had to step up. Levi Butcher is a junior offensive tackle, and he was playing defensive line before the season started. So he's been starting for us and playing very well. Garrett McMurtry is a kid that's only played 2 years of football, and after 2 weeks of injured running backs, he was thrust into the limelight and has carried the load for us. And we've gotten healthy in some places, and but we've got a lot of those stories. Guys that start out the year kind of primarily as JV guys and just keep working. We have Riley West, who played a bunch in the Eastlake game and has really solidified himself as a solid depth guy for us in the secondary. Troy Cassidy the same way. Luke Atwood and Jaron Gargalis have played really well. Andrew Brandenburg at wide receiver. I mean, I could probably go position by position because we've been so beat up that other guys have had to step up and make plays, and these guys have done a good job.
And the list goes on.
It does.
Now, you mentioned Eastlake. You had a couple of really tough teams that you guys had to go up against. You had Verde Valley, Eastlake. You also had Rancho Verde, and then you begin league play against Centennial. So definitely not an easy schedule for you guys. How do you think that this schedule has really helped prepare the guys for the next step?
Well, I think, honestly, in terms of preparation, it really prepares us physically. The truth be told, it doesn't matter who we play. We'll never see anybody that's better coached, more athletic, faster, stronger, more physical than Centennial. Right. And so, you measure yourself against the best, and you know that no matter who you play, win or lose, you've already played somebody better than them. And and we kind of started taking that approach a year ago, and with guys like Alex Benter, I heard, Nano talking about Alex, and just we're going to play each game as an individual isolated game, and we know we get 10 of them. And after we've played those 10, we'll hope we did well enough in them that we get an opportunity for an 11th. And so our guys are really able to battle through adversity and stay focused on the next task at hand.
Now, taking it to another team in the Big 8, one of your guys' other rivals, because there's so many out here. You went out and, here in California, we're lucky enough to have great weather, but of course, a weekend came along where we didn't have great weather, and that was when you were playing against Roosevelt, and that was a game that really mattered on both sides. It was the game that depended on whether or not one of you was going to go to playoffs. Can you just take us back through the emotions of that game?
It was weird. I mean, the reality is, and we weren't the only ones that dealt with it, but to play a single game over 2 days is the weirdest thing in the world. And, as a football coach, and an offensive guy, I spend a lot of time thinking about first down calls, spend a lot of time thinking about the first call of the game. We ended the game Friday night on our own 22-yard line, 2nd and 8. And so I spent the whole night thinking about the best 2nd and 8 call. Didn't turn out to be a great one because we ended up punting on that drive. But, it was a weird roller coaster of emotions. I think that the things that our guys have been through, the fire that displaced us for a week of practice and then having to travel for our first home game and, just having to fight through a lot of different types of adversities kind of prepared them to take stock of what happened Friday night and to bow their necks and come back on Saturday and play to win. And we played for 4 quarters and we won it in the 4th. So
congrats on that right there. You guys will be going off to playoffs just in a couple of weeks now, starting next week, actually. Yeah. Now, what can fans really expect from UNCIF play?
Our kids play hard, and, we're working hard as coaches to continually improve our execution, and that's something that has gotten better over the course, really over the league part of our season. Doesn't always show when you play some people that are really good, but we've gotten better execution-wise on both sides of the football. But I will say this, no matter who we play, you can count on 11 guys playing as hard as they can on every play, because that's kind of become what our guys are that's what they rally around. So
thank you for your time, Coach. I'm looking forward to watching.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
This week in the Big 8, we're going to have a lot of blowouts as usual. Centennial, whoever they face, they tend to blow out unless it's one of their tough competitors. But they're going off against Roosevelt this week. The same way that they went off against Santiago and Norco. I'm assuming it's going to be pretty easy ride for them. But we have Santiago going off against King this week. It's going to be their senior night. They're looking to do some damage. I'm thinking that one is also going to be a blowout. This past week in the Southern section was really interesting. We had a couple of games that I expected to be blowouts, and then little did I know it turned out to be completely different from expected. We had Murrieta Valley going off to face Murrieta Mesa, which should have been an easy win for Murrieta Valley, but turns out Mesa held on. It was only 48-46 win. Hank Bachmeyer, of course, did great as always, but the rest of his team really has been struggling throughout this entire season, and Mesa is on the come up, so they were doing great. They saw the opportunity, they took it. They were very close, but unfortunately couldn't get the win. But I think the future is looking bright for Mesa. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do next year. I think they're really moving up in the Southwestern League. Another game, the game that I actually was able to go and cover was the Temecula Valley versus Chaparral game. Now, I went into that game thinking that TV was going to get a win, but I thought it would be close. It turns out it was extremely close. 35-28, Chaparral took that one. Now, it was really thanks to Orlando Ornelas, their quarterback. He did a lot of work for them. It was Jamar Robinson who was put in at safety in the last couple plays of the game. He went out there, the final play of the game, he ended up getting an interception with 20 seconds left to really seal the deal for them. Now this week I am going to cover the Vista Murrieta and Murrieta Valley rivalry game. That is going to be a game to watch. I'm expecting Vista to take it just because they've been doing a lot stronger this year compared to Murrieta Valley, whereas last year the roles were very swapped. But Hank Bachmeyer, like I said earlier, has been really pulling through for this team. He's really the only one pulling through for this team. So who knows? It could really go either way. But just Vista Murrieta as a whole has been doing much better, performing a lot stronger and a lot more as a team throughout this entire season. So I'm expecting Vista to take it. I'm excited to see what they do in playoffs this season. It's coming up next week, actually. So I'm very excited to see how that ends up going for the entire Southern section, really. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much. Back to you guys.
All right, from Jessica to Connor over at Bishop Amat.
Thank you, Tommy. I'm here at Bishop Amat High, where the Lancers have already clinched the Mission League title. Earlier at practice, I caught up with quarterback Blake Archuleta to discuss the team's success and what they're expecting in the Division I playoffs.
I think the key to our success is just buying into the coaching staff and just following our rules and listening to the coaches and being coachable.
It's early in the week, but you have Alemany coming up in the Mission League for the league finale. What's the preparation been like for them? They got a good young team over there.
Yeah, they got a lot of guys that can run fast, and we're just trying to get ready for them and not look ahead to the playoffs.
You've already clinched the league title for the Mission League, so congratulations. I'm sure that was a goal you guys had at the beginning of the year. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot coming here. I always wanted to get a varsity Mission League title, and for our team to do that, my senior class, it means a lot to us.
So you mentioned you don't want to look ahead to the D1 playoffs, but that's on everyone's mind right now. You've played some Trinity League teams earlier in the year, so you know what's going to be at stake if you come up against one of those teams. How prepared do you feel for that Division I playoffs, just because those are so tough?
I think we're really prepared, playing J. Sarah and Mater Dei. Mater Dei, one of the best teams in the country, and then J. Sarah right behind them, and I think it prepared us really well.
What do you like about this year's team? You guys have won a lot of games. What do you think you guys do well?
I think we just gel as a team, and all of us are super coachable, and we run things well and play together.
What's your relationship like with Coach Haggerty?
Me and Coach Haggerty have a good relationship. I've been here for 4 years, and we've grown closer together throughout the 4 years.
Blake, I know you're a dual sport guy, playing football and baseball as well. Is there one that you like better right now, or are you just trying to figure it all out because you're really excelling at both?
I'm just trying to figure out right now. I had a good baseball last year with getting all-state, and this year I'm just focusing on football and each season as it comes.
Coach Danny Hernandez helps you. He's a quarterback coach. He helps a lot of guys in the area, but it seems like you have a special relationship with him. How much has he helped?
He helped me a lot in the summer and off-season getting my shoulder ready because I separated it last year, and he's been a key to my success throughout the season.
Do you have a favorite memory from your time at Bishop Amat?
Freshman year we went 9-1. That was a good memory, and then maybe sophomore year making varsity.
As you guys head into the playoffs, what's your confidence level after winning the Mission League and really challenging yourself in the non-league earlier?
I think we have a really high confidence with J. Sarah being one of the top teams, and we barely lost to them on a 2-point conversion. It gives us a lot of confidence going into the playoffs.
So Blake, I'll get you out of here with this last question for you. Did you have some goals at the beginning of the year? I'm sure you did. And how would you say you've done with those goals so far now that we're at the end of the year?
Yeah, one of my goals was to get first team All-Mission League, and I don't know if I got that yet.
We'll see, but it's a good chance.
And then I know as a team we want to win the Mission League, which I think we're in a pretty good position to do. And then I know we want to go deep into the playoffs.
That's Blake Archuleta, the quarterback here at Bishop Amat. Blake, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's move on now to the game ball segment, where I highlight some of the top players from the past week in the northern part of the southern section. Got to get things started at Notre Dame Sherman Oaks, where Christian Grubb was phenomenal in Notre Dame's win over Alemany. Check out this stat line: 17 carries, 172 yards, and 5 touchdowns in the 54-21 win. That gets the game ball started this week. Number 2, James Jimenez at Northview. 15 of 22. He's a quarterback for 326 yards and 4 touchdowns in a 45-0 win over Roland. James Jimenez, congratulations. I know Northview has a huge game on Friday to determine their league championship. With Jimenez under center, I like their chances. And then finally, running back Isaiah Creech at Highland. 19 carries, 145 yards, and a touchdown, as well as a 2-point conversion in a 22-20 Golden League win overnight. That was a huge win for Highland, and Creech was a big reason why they got that victory. So those are my 3 game balls. Finally, my pick, Sierra Canyon over Paraclete in the Gold Coast League. I don't know, I just got a good feeling about Sierra Canyon. I think they will make the playoffs. Tommy, back to you.
Shotgun, we mentioned them a little bit earlier. Bishop Amat, kind of a surprise team.
Yeah, they've really taken off this season. They're technically 8-1. Was your favorite win of the season? Their forfeit win over Mater Dei, one you like to bring up as much as possible. They're coming off their biggest win of the year, though. They've really been improving as the season has progressed. Blake Archuleta, their quarterback, who Connor talked to, has been fantastic for him. I mean, he was 23-27 this past week, 295 yards and 2 touchdowns. They've got a nice back in Kenny Collins back there. He's been very efficient for him as well, but they can also, rely on him to be a workload back if they need to. They did that a little bit earlier in the season a couple times, giving him 25-plus carries. He only had 8 carries. He had 4 catches, so he can do a little bit of both. This past week, he had almost 100 yards total. They've actually got a big game, and one we're just about to pick, Tommy. So should we just go straight into the game picks now?
Yep, we'll go into the game picks. Again, all these are available on the Fox Sports Go app. It is the final week of the season, so make sure you watch it, please. The final game will be on Fox Sports West. We'll talk about that one last. But Shotgun, starting with, we talked about some small schools before, but this might take the cake. It is an 8-man football game. It is Chadwick traveling to Flitridge Prep.
Maybe do a little research here, but Chadwick 7-0. This is the team I'm taking. They've got a rushing attack led by Zach Goodman and Orrin Hamlin. Both guys are averaging over 100 yards rushing this year. I'm going to take them over Flitridge Prep, who's only 4-3 this season.
I'm going to agree with you here. I'm going to take them as well. We've talked about them already a couple of times now. It's not Alemany, but who they're playing. It's Alemany traveling to Bishop Amat. Can Alemany pull off the upset?
Alemany started 6-1. They've lost 2 straight, including kind of a beatdown last week. They lost 54-21. It seemed like everything was going Sherman Oaks, Notre Dame's way. They're a young team. I just don't think they're quite ready to be able to right the ship when things go south. But they've got some young stars and some guys we're going to be talking about in years to come. And quarterback Miller Moss, he's a sophomore. Alonzo Fontenette, their wide receiver. Jason Todd, their wide receiver. All sophomores. Kevin Green Jr. may be the best of the bunch. He's a freshman. So I think they're going to be good in the future. I don't think they'll win this game, though. I like that. I like Blake Archuleta at Bishop Amat. He's been so efficient and has been kind of the calming presence for that team. They also have guys on the defensive side, Ethan Rodriguez, Fidel Cabral. Those guys have been really good. Chris Lopez had 2 short TD runs last week as well. So they're getting more than just Kenny Collins there on the offensive side. So I got Bishop Amat winning this one and continuing.
I'm going to agree, but I will say this. Alemany in the next 2 years will be that one non-Trinity League team that we all talk about. If they can keep all those guys together for another 2 years, they will be very, very good. But next year for them, I got Bishop Amat right now. Next, a big-time rivalry game. You can tailgate at Westlake. It's a walk over to the game at Oaks Christian. It is 2 neighboring schools. You got the whole private versus public thing. It is Westlake traveling to Oaks Christian. Is there an upset in this one?
It's tough to see somebody beating that Oaks Christian team after seeing them last week. If Westlake is to pull off the upset, they have to get Jason Heller going. They're at their best when he's, being a dynamic playmaker, finding ways to get him in the open field and let him make guys miss. Got a great matchup, linebacker, running back matchup between DeGabriel Floyd and Zach Charbonnet. There's 2 former Oaks Christian quarterbacks on this Westlake roster as well. They got Terrell Vaughn. They got Jordan Patterson eligible a few weeks ago. They've been playing better since they had them. But it's tough to pick against this Oaks Christian team. You got Josh Calvert at the quarterback position, but also at the linebacker, so kind of a hybrid linebacker safety role. They just committed to Washington, which tells you how good he is on the defensive side. He had 2 sacks last week. You got Kayvon Thibodeau, one of the best players in the country. He had a sack and a block punt this past week. They held Jaden Casey in that Calabasas passing attack to 127 yards. So I have a hard time seeing that Westlake's going to be able to get, too much offense going, too much more offense going than Calabasas did. And Oaks Christian's won the last 3 meetings by pretty big margins. So I'm going to stick with Oaks Christian on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with them too. That defense, we were both there at that game when they played Calabasas. They looked really good. Josh Calvert is my new favorite player. Not only, as you said, does he play right in the middle of the defense, he plays quarterback. And he threw, and I'm not kidding, from where he threw it to where it landed, it had to be at least 60 yards while getting hit and completed a pass. One of the best passes I've seen so far this year. I think he could play quarterback. I know he's a linebacker, but I think he could. I think he really could. Next, we've got the de facto championship game for the Camino League. It is Grace Brethren and Camarillo. They will be playing this game. They'll be playing this game at Moorpark College. Shocking to you guys.
Hey, Camarillo's done it with defense. They're giving up 9.1 points per game. The question is, will Jesse Valenzuela be back? The running back broke his hand earlier this year. I think he had one carry last week. Maybe that was just a mistake on the stats sheet. I'm not sure. But if they get him back, that changes the complex of this game completely. Junior quarterback James McNamara has been solid, but with Valenzuela back, it's a completely different team. They're number 1 in Division 4. Grace Brethren is number 4 in Division 4, and these teams can face off in the playoffs as well. Grace Brethren has a 19-game league win streak. Lontrell Diggs has been spectacular for them at the running back position, 1,300 yards rushing, 20 touchdowns. I'm going to go with Camarillo if Valenzuela's back. If not, I'm taking Grace Brethren. I know I'm hedging my bets there, but that's how I'm playing this one out.
I'll let you do that. That's fine. I'm going to go with Grace Brethren here. I know Camarillo, undefeated. They're having a great season, everything like that. Grace Brethren, as of late, has been really, really good. They've got a couple. They got really benefiting from the transfers from San Fernando, the Gill brothers. So I'm going to stay with them. Again, they're a different team now than they were in the beginning of the year, which is when they took some of those losses. Next, it's a rivalry game in Valencia. It's West Ranch from Valencia traveling to Valencia from Valencia.
West Ranch has the Camacho brothers who have been so dynamic this year. Valencia, though, got Javon Wilson back. Their Oregon running back commit. He is finally fully healthy, I think. He had 18 carries, 139 yards, and a touchdown last week. There are 3 losses this year, all by a single score. They've got 4 straight wins, I believe. There's 7 different receivers that have had at least 100 yards receiving. I think Valencia knows how to spread the ball around. I'm going to take Javon Wilson, the star running back, over the Camacho twins. It's 2 against 1, but I'm going to take Javon.
How about this? I'll make it 3 against 1. I'm going to go with West Ranch. Weston Eget, the quarterback for West Ranch, also a very good player, so watch out for him. Game of the week now. It is the TV game. It'll be on Fox Sports West. It will start at 7:30. I will be there. It is Rancho Verde traveling to Romoland to take on Heritage.
9-0 versus 7-2. Romoland Heritage. Their powerful rushing attack. They beat Cajon earlier this year. They got 3 guys on the ground rushing for more than 500 yards. Ika Tuatale, who you talked about earlier, has been kind of the driving force. They've only thrown 51 passes in 9 games. I mean, that's barely 6 a game there. I mean, or not even 6 a game. I mean, they just they get it done on the ground. So it's going to be up to Rancho Verde to hold the ball, keep them off the field, and then make some stops on the other side. Davin Wilson had 14-yard pick 6, one of 3 interceptions last week, but they're not going to be able to pick off many passes this week because there's not going to be many passes thrown. I mean, head coach Pete Duffy from Rancho Verde said, we know it's probably going to take a perfect game to beat Heritage next week. We can't make any penalties or mistakes. I just don't think any high school team can do that. I mean, when I see teams getting 19 penalties, that tells me much more accurate description of high school football than a team having 0 penalties. But they do have Xavier Ugorgi, who you talked about a little bit earlier. He had 15 carries, 122 yards last week over in the win over Paloma Valley. So, if they can control the clock a little bit, I think Rancho Verde can keep this one close. But I got Romoland Heritage winning.
Yeah, more on Xavier Ugorgi. Has 1,459 rushing yards, 19 touchdowns, has rushed for over 100 yards in every single game. He's averaging 162 yards per game, but he's just one dude, and it's going to be tough. Heritage, as you mentioned, they have kind of a 3-headed monster back there running the ball. I like having more than one player have to carry the load, so that's why I'm going to go with Heritage, even though Xavier Gorgi is putting together a very good season. Shotgun, that was it for the regular season. Anything you want to ask before we get into the playoffs?
I'm just ready for this is a dynamic week. This is a week where a lot of titles are determined. I mean, there's a couple of them were determined last week when you're St. John Bosco and you're playing that well, but this will be the week that a lot of league titles are determined. There's some rivalry games going on, so this is going to be a fun weekend for sure.
All right, that'll do it for us. Make sure you come back next week when we're talking playoffs. We're going to break down all 19 divisions. We'll discuss that later. For Shotgun, it's probably going to talk more. So see you.